Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hello, everyone. I am Chris Coplien from the Retro Hangover podcast. Thanks again, Matt, for allowing me to ramble about a game I love on your Side Quest series, especially one that I think needs more attention. And I'm happy to talk about Final Fantasy Renaissance with all of you today. But before I get into that, let me talk to you about the Retro Hangover podcast. It's a retro gaming podcast where we talk about a game 10 years or older. Sometimes we talk about consoles. Sometimes we talk about personalities. Sometimes we talk about topics, but usually it's a game. And every other week, we also have a series that is called The Flight, where we talk about top 5 topics voted on by our community. So if you're interested in any of that, there's also the King of Games series, which is a multi-podcast effort. So some podcasters that you may know might be on that show. And hey, maybe one that you really know might be on there in the not too distant future. Anyway, let's get into Final Fantasy Renaissance, which, from what I've been able to surmise, was released on December 20th, 2021. And this is what I had to get from the file notes from where I could download the game. This game was developed by Renaissance Games, which is an independent gaming group, I guess. It appears to be in the credits just one person by the name of Brandon Smith. You see, this is a fan-made game from the ground up in Unity, recreating the original Final Fantasy. This is not a ROM hack. This is the original Final Fantasy rebuilt. You might be asking, well, what's so special about it? It's just the original Final Fantasy. Well, you can play the original Final Fantasy, but there's a bigger mode, a better mode that's called Renaissance mode. And what is Renaissance mode? Well, there are more classes, and each class has abilities that you did not have on the original. There's new treasures. There's bug fixes. It's quite a staggering effort overall, and it's extremely impressive. The graphics aren't improved in any way, but pretty much everything else is. For example, on my very first run, when I played this game, I used 4 of the new classes. Those classes are the Dark Knight, Lancer, Green Mage, and Bard. And each of these classes adds something unique, and there are even more classes that you can try in addition to the base set, like Evoker, Dancer, Tamer, Blue Mage, Geomancer, and Time Mage. Now, this is in addition to the original classes, and just as a refresher, that is your Warrior, your Monk, your Red Mage, your White Mage, your Black Mage, and your Thief. The abilities that the classes that I used felt unique enough that their creation felt justified. While the Green Mage felt a bit underwhelming, at the end, it definitely paid off. The Lancer and Dark Knight were powerhouses, with the Lancer being an absolute monster. It was probably broken. Still, they didn't feel redundant of the fighter and are fun in their own unique ways. The Bard was so much better than I thought it would be. In fact, I don't understand why Bards get hate in the Final Fantasy series. If you know how to use them, whew, you're sitting pretty. Except for maybe Final Fantasy 3. That wouldn't work too well. But in short, my playthrough made me want to play it all over again, and I did start a second one not too long after, with completely different classes. I just wanted to see what they would do. I wanted to see what the old classes would do with new abilities, and just making my way through the game in a way that was a refreshing experience. The original Final Fantasy, after all, is a great introduction to the JRPG genre, especially in its very early days. And if you're familiar with this, you're going to have a whole host of options in order to play in a way that you probably wouldn't have thought of. Because aside from that, this is Final Fantasy. It's all here and plays just like it used to, with a lot of improvements. If anything, it's almost fixed too well, with a lot of instant death spells being far more effective than I remember. All the music, the graphics, the UI, it's all the same, but with a ton of quality of life improvements. For example, if you target a dead enemy, you won't just say, not effective. It'll move on to the next enemy. That's finally been fixed. And other little things you will probably know if you're a fan of Final Fantasy. So I do highly recommend this game for any fan of the original NES version. It's some of the most fun I had in 2023 when I played it. And while it might be a minute before I get back to it, I do look forward to the day I can. See, a new version came out. I played, I think it was version 1.5, 1.6, and it's up to 2.0. It's an active community where you can download the game for free because, of course, you can. I don't think Square would allow anyone to purchase it. But all you have to do is find their Discord community, which is not hard to do. And I'm in the Fun and Game server, so if you want access to that or you want a link to that, just tag me or DM me and I can provide that to you. Because you just go there, find the Google Share Drive where that is, and you're on your way. Just be aware this game is always being updated. It's constantly alive. A lot of the information I said, there might be more stuff added. I know that the classes were upgraded. The classes were altered. They were balanced in order to make the game, well, just play better. Like I was talking about the green mage there, which is just kind of a modification of the white mage with different spells. And in my playthrough, like I was talking about, it wasn't really the best class. Well, some abilities were added to make sure that class was better. So if you give this one a shot, I definitely think that you will enjoy it. And the community over there is great as well. The person who made this game, Brandon Smith, goes by the name of Osmo in the Discord server. And the community in general is just very welcoming. They're very appreciative, and they'll help you in any way you can. So yeah, there's no reason in my mind, if you aren't an NES fan, an old school JRPG fan, that you shouldn't try this out. If you didn't like the original Final Fantasy, but you do like Final Fantasy games later, this one is also worth taking a look at. But that is all I have. Thank you once again, Matt, for having me on this wonderful series of yours where people come on and talk about the games they love. I love this game, if that wasn't already apparent after me gushing over this for about 7 minutes here. And thank you all for just letting me ramble. Happy gaming.
Have you ever sat on a long commute or a dull day in the office and let your mind wander back to the days of rectangle pizza, bowls and bowls of sugar cereal, and gushing over your favorite cartoons and movies in school, and worry that those favorites from childhood won't hold up today? Well, the Saturday Morning Confidential podcast answers those questions for you. Host Maddie Limerick sits down with artists and creators of today to pull back the veil of nostalgia to talk about what's great and what we would change in hindsight years later. So pull on your comfiest PJs, pour yourself a bowl of your favorite cereal, and take a deep dive into the files of Saturday Morning Confidential. Releasing bi-weekly on Saturdays, available on your favorite podcast platforms and at certainpov.com.
CPOV.
certainpov.com.